Hello everybody. Today, to continue our unit on the power of the Senate and the Congress, especially during antebellum America, we're going to learn about the Great Triumvirate, which was three statesmen, Daniel Webster, Henry Clay, and John C. Calhoun, who dominated the narrative during antebellum America in terms of political actions. Here in this painting, we have the three men themselves. From left to right, you have Daniel Webster, who was a member of the Whig Party. In the middle, you have Henry Clay, who was also a member of the Whig Party. And on the right, you have John C. Calhoun, who was actually a member of the Democratic Party. In the next few slides, we'll be getting into the political parties so you can differentiate their ideologies and how these men stuck to their parties or strayed. Before we get into the individual actions of each person, let's talk about the political parties they belonged to. At the time, there were two political parties that dominated the Senate and the Congress. In the next few slides, we'll learn about those political parties, what their ideals were, and then you can connect why Calhoun, Clay, and Webster belonged to these specific political parties, and how their differences and similarities allowed them to work together. First, let's look at the Democratic Party. Now, the Democratic Party at this time, compared to the Democratic Party today, are two extremely different parties. The Democratic Party at this time was all about states' rights. And in turn, most Democrats at the time were pro-slavery and pro-sovereignty, which was that idea that the states should decide the laws that they pass. The Whig Party was a little different from the Republicans at the time. The Whig Party really focused on the idea that one person should not run the government. The idea Whig came from the British Parliament Party, where they were kind of trying to stay away from that idea that the king should have all the power. The Whig Party in the United States was going against Andrew Jackson, who was president at the time, that was kind of abusing his executive power. Let's start out with Henry Clay. Henry Clay was Secretary of State under our sixth president, John Quincy Adams. Clay also served as Speaker of the House in the House of Representatives. Clay ran for president 3 times, but lost all 3 times. Clay was most predominantly a U.S. Senator along with Webster and Calhoun. The most notable achievement that this Whig senator had to his name was his proposal of the Compromise of 1850, which was a proposal that was meant to try to keep both Democrats and Whigs happy in introducing new states to our union that we were gaining at the time. Clay also took the stance of opposing the annexation of Texas. He believed that adding states such as Texas to the Union would break apart the United States and cause secession. He said, and quote, "Union, peace, and patience, the best way to keep the United States as one together power." Due to Clay's action as a very strong statesman, senator, and congressman, he earned the nicknames the Great Compromiser and the Great Pacificator. Clay believed in the American system, which was a system that rejected strict constitutionalism and promoted activism as a way to make our country stronger as a whole. Now let's move on to Daniel Webster. Daniel Webster, before he was a senator, argued over 200 cases before the Supreme Court as a lawyer. He also served as Secretary of State under Presidents William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, and Millard Fillmore. Webster was known for giving speeches on the Senate floor that lasted literally days. Due to Webster's ability to write and give speeches that lasted this long and got across to so many people, he was given the nickname the Great Orator. Along with this nickname, he also was the leader of the Cotton Whigs, which is a separate party that was formed in order to have good relations with the South and the Southern Democrats. Working with Henry Clay, Webster added the fugitive slave law into the Compromise of 1850, making it a true compromise. The fugitive slave law was a law implemented in which any slave that fled from the South to the North would be returned to their masters back into slavery. Webster was hell-bent on preserving the Union. In his famous debate with South Carolina Senator Robert Hayne, he spoke, "Liberty and Union, now and forever, one and inseparable." Along with making notable pieces of history like this, Webster also determined the U.S. and Canada border under Millard Fillmore, and he helped lead the campaign for the Compromise of 1850, helping to get it passed. Now let's move on and finish our lesson with John C. Calhoun. John C. Calhoun was the Secretary of War under President James Monroe and was instrumental in advocating for the War of 1812. Calhoun also served as vice president to Andrew Jackson, and Calhoun did become the first to resign as vice president because Calhoun felt strongly that states should have the right to nullify any law created by the federal government. As a staunch believer in slavery, Calhoun was a Southern Democrat. Therefore, Calhoun opposed the Compromise of 1850, and even though he was dying when it was passed, he made sure to be present at the Senate so that he could speak up against the compromise that Clay was proposing. Calhoun always spoke very strongly in favor of slavery. He once said, "To destroy it would to be destroy us as a people." Calhoun advocated for secession if he felt that the federal government was becoming too strong. Calhoun was always fighting for states' rights, making him quite different from the other two gentlemen we've already learned about. Alright folks, thanks for watching and listening. Be sure to remember to complete the worksheet attached to this lesson on the Great Triumvirate. Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, and John C. Calhoun.